Hey, if you think your fertility drops off of a cliff at 35, you need to watch this video because the research shows something completely different than what we as women are being told. Hi, I'm Dr. Omatma. I've been helping women conceive naturally between the ages of 25 to 46 for the last 15 years. And I'm about to share what the actual research says about fertility at 25, 35, and 45. And it's probably going to surprise you. The fertility fear-mongering around age has gotten out of control and it's causing unnecessary panic. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what to expect at each age and what you can actually do to control your chances and optimize your chances for success at whatever age you're at. Now, I've been working in the functional fertility field for over a decade. I've reviewed hundreds of fertility studies, and I've helped thousands of women understand their real fertility potential at every age. I'm going to give you the research-backed truth, not the outdated statistics that are still being thrown around. There's one patient that I'm thinking of who came to me at 37, convinced that she was too old, after one doctor told her she needed to rush into IVF. She conceived naturally just 4 months after that point, after optimizing the factors that actually mattered. So here's what I'm going to break down for you today. First, what the research actually shows about fertility at each age. And I'm talking about real current data, not statistics that don't reflect modern women's health. Then, the factors that matter way more than your age. And finally, specific optimization strategies at each decade. Most fertility information focuses on scary statistics designed to make you panic, but I'm going to show you the full picture so you can make an informed decision about your fertility journey. And remember, what I'm saying here is not necessarily applicable to everyone, and there are going to be women that are 45 years old and have amazing fertility, and there are going to be women at 25 that don't have amazing fertility. So please refrain from the comments in the comment section that say, well, I had a baby at 45 and I struggled at 35 and I struggled at 25. I get it. Everyone is different. Your situation is different. But these are the general statistics that we need to look at in order to assess whether what we're telling women about their decline in fertility at the age of 35 is actually true and based in science. My theory is that it's not, but research is relatively limited. So I'm going to do my best to break down some of the numbers and have a real look at what we need to understand and if we can let go of this idea that our fertility is going to drop off of a cliff at 35, then guess what? We're going to be better prepared and we're going to take actions earlier, hopefully potentially sooner, and preserve our fertility for later, if that's what we choose. So let's get into it. Let's start with the actual research on fertility by age because what you've been told is probably incomplete. The myth is that all 25-year-olds are at peak fertility and should get pregnant easily. Here's what the research actually shows. At 25, your age of conceiving in any given cycle is about 25%. Over a year, approximately 78 to 86% of those women in their mid-20s will conceive. But here's what's surprising. Not all women in their 20s have optimal fertility. I had a patient, Brooke, who was 24 and trying to conceive for over a year. It turned out that she had PCOS that no one had considered, and age alone did not guarantee her fertility. Her lifestyle, her health, and her underlying hormone conditions mattered just as much. The research shows that even at 25, about 25% of your eggs already have genetic abnormalities. So the idea that your 20s are the perfect fertility window isn't entirely accurate. However, we should keep in mind that a majority of women in their mid and early 20s will conceive within a 1-year time period. So how about fertility at 35? Now, here's where the fear-mongering really kicks in, because the myth is that the steep fertility cliff at 35 is going to suddenly make you geriatric. The reality is that research shows fertility does decline, but not as dramatically as we've been told. The per cycle chance for conception goes from 25% to about 20% at the age of 35. Within a 1-year period, 63% of these women will likely conceive. And women between 35 and 39, about 52% of them will conceive. So yes, as you can tell, the numbers are declining as we go with age. There's also another study that quotes the age population of 25 to 29 has about a 3% higher chance than the age group of 35 to 39 in their ability to conceive. So there are lots of different studies that are showing lots of different things. How do we know what to believe? Well, I think the crux of the differences is going to be based on lifestyle, overall health, and underlying factors that are impacting people's fertility. But let's keep going. The cliff narrative is based on older data that doesn't reflect modern women's health. The current studies show many women conceive naturally in their mid-30s, though fertility supportive habits and early evaluation have become more important. Consider one of my patients who came to me panicked at 35, convinced that she was running out of time. She had been trying for 6 months and was already researching IVF. We optimized her nutrition, managed her stress better, and she conceived naturally just 3 months later. At 35, genetic abnormalities in embryos rise to about 35 to 45%, but that means more than half of your eggs are still completely normal. And when you do the work to optimize before conception, the likelihood of those genetic abnormalities actually decreases. So we notice even well into the 40s, women have completely healthy babies and healthy embryos because we have done the work to support nutrition in advance. All right, so last but not least, what everyone's been waiting for, fertility at 45. The myth here is that natural conception at 45 is almost impossible. The reality, while it's rare, it's not impossible. Research shows that the monthly chance for conception is very low. It's estimated to be less than 1%, and miscarriage rates rise to over 50% after 45, largely due to egg quality and embryo and genetic abnormalities. But here's what's interesting. Those who do conceive at 45 often have a history of easier conception or strong ovarian reserves. My oldest natural conception patient at 46 was extremely well preserved in terms of the number of eggs that she had available. However, she had a history of 4 previous healthy pregnancies, and she really wanted baby number 5. So she did the work that she would to support her nutritional status, her hormones, and address the underlying GI issues that she had been dealing with for almost a decade in order to have that last baby. So I'm not wanting to give you false hope here, but to show you that while success without intervention is uncommon at 45, occasional spontaneous pregnancies do happen, especially with those who have previous healthy births. What matters more than age is going to be this. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. Research shows there are factors that matter way more than your age when it comes to fertility. Your ovarian reserve versus egg quality is something that we absolutely need to discuss. Most people think that these are the same thing, but they're not. Research shows that both are declining with age, but egg quality, aka chromosomal and mitochondrial health, is the key for healthy births. So what's crucial is genetics, environmental exposures, aka toxins, and lifestyle, which heavily influence this process. while you can't increase your egg count, you can absolutely influence egg quality at any age. I've seen women in their 40s with better outcomes than women in their 20s who are living on processed food and chronic stress. Research is clear that optimizing the underlying factors is going to support egg quality more than anything else. Now, I will make a short, quick note about ovarian reserve or egg reserves because it comes up a lot. Ovarian reserve is what we can measure. Usually it's measured in one of two ways: an anti-Müllerian hormone combined with, ideally, follicle stimulating hormone, and those two together can give us an estimate of ovarian reserve. I have lots of videos on that, so make sure to check them out. And the other factor that we can measure is called antral follicle count, or AFC. This is usually done with an ultrasound, and your OBGYN can do this test for you. Those two factors are the only measure of ovarian reserves or egg reserves. Neither one of those are an indicator of egg quality, which is very different. And I will say this again, your egg quality matters more than your egg quantity. So it's really, really important to address the root causes. The research is clear that optimizing thyroid function, balancing insulin levels, healthy stress hormone levels, and ovarian hormone levels are all extremely important when it comes to fertility health, and they are important across all ages. So, for example, a 25-year-old who has autoimmune thyroid conditions is going to be way less likely to get pregnant than a 35-year-old who does not have that issue, has addressed her gut health, has addressed her thyroid function, and has addressed all of the other underlying factors that could potentially make her more likely to get pregnant than not. I can't tell you how many times I've seen women whose age-related fertility issues were actually under the surface thyroid issues, insulin resistance, PCOS, endometriosis, just too much stress that bottomed out their cortisol. There are so many patterns and things that could be happening under the surface that going unchecked and going unaddressed can lead to fertility issues. And a lot of those women have been put in the bucket of age-related fertility issues when in fact they were not age-related at all. They go on to have healthy pregnancies and healthy babies at the end of the day because they address the root factors that were affecting their fertility to begin with. Your thyroid function is crucial for ovulation as well as maintaining pregnancy. Balanced and regulated insulin levels help with egg quality and hormone production. And chronic stress, my gosh, do we need to get started? It can suppress your reproductive hormones no matter how old you are. And matter of fact, if you have not watched my TED Talk on this topic, you absolutely must check it out here. And matter of fact, if you have not watched my TED Talk on the topic of stress, safety, and your fertility, you absolutely must. It's linked in the description below. The research on lifestyle factors is actually extensive. I have heard lots of clients come and say their reproductive endocrinologist or their OB told them that there was no evidence that their diet or supplementation can actually support their fertility. This is far from the truth, especially when there are studies in very respected journals like Fertility and Sterility that show that diets rich in fruits, vegetables, omega-3 fatty acids, and antioxidants hands down support fertility. There are 100+ studies on the Mediterranean diet as the go-to diet for fertility. Now, I don't fully agree with the Mediterranean diet, but certainly with some modifications, you can make extreme headway with supporting your fertility. Moderate activity, for example, optimizes hormones, but excessive exercise may impair your cycles. Poor sleep and chronic stress can disrupt ovulation as well as sperm production. So, what you eat, how you move, how you sleep, and how your body perceives stress. This is not the stress that you have in your life. It's how your body interacts with that stress are all going to directly impact your fertility at any age. This isn't just theory. There are measurable effects on your reproductive health and your reproductive function. Now, let's talk about one thing that often gets overlooked. The research shows that male fertility also declines with age. Particularly sperm quality after 45 is going to take a hit. Fertility takes two, and I see way too many women blaming themselves for fertility challenges when the issue may partially or entirely be related to their partner. Studies show sperm quality, motility, and DNA integrity all matter for conception and healthy pregnancy outcomes. This is very, very important. There are a lot of women who have recurrent pregnancy loss that actually have a partner with an underlying issue that's causing those pregnancies to not go to full term. So it's so important that while we are talking about female age and fertility, it's important to remember that optimizing your partner's health is equally important and honestly crucial, in my opinion. Now, let's talk about what the research shows about what you can actually do at each age to optimize your fertility. So, if you're in your 20s, the research supports building healthy habits, nutrition, sleep, and the right amount of activity and the right types of activity, avoiding tobacco, excessive alcohol, and recreational drugs, which studies do show damage fertility. If you're trying to conceive and it's not happening after even 6 months of regular attempts, it's okay to start thinking about what you can do for support. I launched Madre Fertility, which is a free app exactly for this reason. This is for young people who have been trying for short periods of time and are freaking out and wondering, is something wrong with my fertility? And because you have to wait a year to get access to support via your OBGYN, who will probably refer you to a reproductive endocrinologist, I believe that there's so much room for you to start working on these underlying pieces well before that 12-month mark. And honestly, who wants to wait for 12 months? Because your fertility is often urgent. And if you are planning to have a baby now, you want to have that baby sooner rather than later. And you probably don't want to wait 12 months. Am I right? If someone told me that I would have to wait 12 months after the point I was actually ready, that would be very discouraging. So check out Madre Fertility. It's linked in the description below because you are going to be able to access an analysis that helps get to the root of potential issues well before you get to the point of needing extensive testing, reproductive endocrinology, and potentially IVF. So if you can prevent it, why not, right? Just because you're young doesn't mean that there aren't underlying issues that can be addressed. So don't wait if you're struggling, if you've already started trying to conceive and it's not happening, and in the back of your mind, you're thinking, could something else be going on here? Check it out. It's free. There's no reason not to. In your 30s, research shows that the importance of being proactive is key. Don't panic, but don't ignore delays either. If you're over 35, seeking help after 6 months rather than waiting for a full year is the wise choice. Also, it's really important that you start being proactive sooner rather than later. I honestly created the fertility analysis from Madre Fertility so that women could have access to this information regardless of whether they had started trying or they were just starting out or if they were 12 months into their journey. I think that access to care and access to understanding what our body is saying to us is so important. So you have access to this. Click in the link below. I know I keep saying that, but honestly, that's all I can say because that's why I created this app. In your mid to late 30s, research also supports more aggressive optimization, targeted nutrition, stress management, and addressing any underlying health issues. Studies show that when the right factors are optimized, many women in their 30s will conceive naturally. In your 40s, research shows that time becomes so crucial. But that doesn't mean you should panic. This means that you want to maximize all modifiable factors: nutrition, supplements, stress management, all of the evidence-based supportive therapies, and consider all of your options. So it may be doing all of the natural things and then lining yourself up for a IVF cycle. It may be using or considering donor eggs if needed, and not giving up just because you're 45, but also being extremely active around what kinds of support you're going to need and what kind of team you're going to put together around you. Because in my experience, the best outcomes in the 40s are a combination of natural plus conventional or reproductive endocrinology support, meaning IVF. So that is super duper important. And remember, it's about optimizing your eggs at this point. So if you have eggs in your ovaries, it is absolutely crucial that they be the highest quality possible, because that is going to give you the most chances for natural conception. And even if you go down the IVF path, it is going to be the point at which your eggs that are retrieved from you during the IVF cycle have the best chances of turning into healthy embryos that eventually turn into healthy babies. In my experience, real improvements are possible when it comes to epigenetics, lifestyle, underlying factors, and the proactive choices that you make at every stage in your 40s. It is possible at an older age to get pregnant and stay pregnant and have a healthy baby. But in my experience, it is best when you pair natural and conventional together and create your dream team sooner rather than later. So here's what the research actually shows. Fertility is not a cliff at 35, and the decline is way more gradual, and many women conceive into their late 30s and even early 40s. At 45, while it's rare, natural conception is still possible with the right support. And even if you need to support your natural fertility while you're pursuing IVF, that is a reasonable path to conception. So it's important that we don't get stuck in any one right way. It's most important that we really think about this from a different perspective and put a whole person and a whole couple spin on the situation that you're in. The most important takeaway from all of the research is that age is just one factor of your fertility. Your hormonal health, your lifestyle, your stress, your overall wellness, and all of the underlying things such as GI health or gut health, which I talk about a lot on this channel, are going to have a massive impact on your fertility regardless of what age you are. So research shows that empowerment is possible at every age, and it's really about understanding what's at your root, what's happening for you, and what is the best way to get the support that you need. Again, I think a really wonderful starting point is the free app that I've created. At any age, you can take this assessment and get an analysis of what's happening in your body and what that might be signaling related to fertility. It's the only app like it on the market, and it's free. If you want to dive deeper into optimizing your fertility based on the latest research, I've created the free fertility app, aka Smart Fertility Analysis, at Madre Fertility, and that will help you identify the factors that matter most for your specific situation. The link is in the description below. And if you found this video useful, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe, hit the button, do all the things, because I'm here for you and I want to support you regardless of what age you are. I want to see every couple on this planet be able to have a child if that's what they truly desire when they are ready for it. Remember, I've seen women succeed at every age, but when they optimize their overall fertility health, her and her partner, when both of you are optimized, your fertility potential is going to be at its peak. So until next time, let's keep creating your fertile future. And if you have comments or questions, put them in the comments below. My team and I do review those, and we will get back to you and support you in whatever way we can. And if you want to have a direct chat with me, hit me up on Instagram. I'm there all the time. So with that, thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you next time. Peace.